Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're here to talk about an article, extremely controversial, that just came out a couple weeks ago. And it's really about the number that you need to retire on. And that's the controversy, because everyone's like, oh, that number is so high. But look, it's so high because the cost of living has just skyrocketed over the last 2 years. And the number 4 years ago was $950,000. So it's gone up 53% over the last 4 years. Unfortunately, I have some bad news for you. That number, if it scares you today, is what you need to retire on today. If you want to retire in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, if you're 20 years old, 30 years old, whatever you are, and you're projected to retire that far, I'm here to tell you that is not enough money to retire on. That's if you're retiring today. And that's based on if you have a lower income, about $80,000 per year, and you get a sustainable return on that money of $1.5 million, around 8%. That's where you can live comfortably. However, if your lifestyle is like me, I live in a big city, a very expensive city. I live in an expensive neighborhood. I drive an expensive car. Look, that cost of living, I couldn't survive on $80,000 a year. So I would need more. Either I need a higher return on that $1.5 million, or I need a bigger return of the pocket. The action instead of 1.5, I might need 3 million or 4 million or 5 million. So this is what the article is talking about here. I want to show you. So they're basing this number on Americans think they need almost $1.5 million to retire, and experts say focus on another number instead. What they want to focus on is your cost of living. So what do you actually need to live on? Like, do you need to move different cities if you have less money to retire on? Do you need to live in a different country? Or maybe instead of having 2 cars, you reduce down to 1 car. But most of what they're talking about is reducing your actual cost of living. I'm here to tell you, you should increase your cost of living, especially in your golden years, especially if you want to retire. My goodness, why do you want to have less of a lifestyle? You've worked your entire life to have this retirement, to have this nest egg. You want to enjoy it. You don't want to have to fly coach if you saved up your whole life to fly first class. Look, unfortunately, the inflation has skyrocketed, and I don't think it's going to continue this pace over the next 4 to 5 years. But over 20 years and 30 years, over longer periods of time, you're going to need more money. So you've got to figure out a solution for it. I'm not here to be sort of a doomsdayer, but I'm saying you're certainly going to need a solution. And what they talk about in this article is most people's, if they can get to this 1.5 or technically $1.46 million number, the vast majority of that wealth comes in 2 places. One, they have a retirement account, either a 401k or some type of mutual fund or a stock, or treasury bills or whatever they're investing in. But they have something that they've taken a little bit of money and they've begun to invest that long periods ago. So, and they a small return, 5%, maybe 8% a year. And over time, that has grown for them. And the second component where most of that wealth comes from is actually in their house. So when they're retiring, they have this huge nest egg in their house that it's appreciated over time. Plus they've paid down the mortgage over time. So they've generated a huge nest egg in their house. There's one big problem with that. You can't actually access the capital. So you need to find a solution. There's reverse mortgages, which I really don't recommend. You could sell your house, which most people don't want to do, especially if you're retired. Why would you want to move? Get into a rental maybe? There's a lot of different solutions, but none of them really transact well for the person, especially if you're in your 60s, your 70s, even 80s, and you're starting to do this. Because you don't want to change life that much. It's difficult. For some people, great. You may want to do that. It's not a problem. But at the end of the day, you need a solution. And I think what it comes down to, and I like what the article talks about, where you need to focus on a different number. And I think that number you need to focus on is your true cost of living. Now, for millennials, and they talk about Gen Zs and different age gaps, they live on less and less. The problem with the article, it doesn't go into why they can do it or how they can do it. How can a millennial live on less money than someone who's retiring right now? Well, it's because they're living in their parents' basement still. That's why their cost of living is so low. And they don't go into that in the article. Yes, they spend less money, generally speaking. Yes, they don't buy homes and generally don't buy cars at this point. That's kind of why their cost of living is so low, which is fantastic. The other big problem, though, they actually earn less money than people did 20 years ago because they just don't work as much. And unfortunately, the bad news here is you are going to have to earn this money. There's no way with the average American. It says here the average American makes $88,000 a year as of last year. I think that number is way off. I think that's way too high. There's no way that's the average. I'm sure that includes people earning millions and millions of dollars a year. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. But after taxes, for example, let's say you take home $60,000 of that money. There's not enough money left over for you to have a home, have a car, go out to dinners, maybe go on a vacation and save. But let's say you saved $60,000. You saved every single penny. You never didn't spend a dime on anything for, call it 50 years, you still wouldn't have the amount of money you need to retire based on this article. So the mathematics doesn't work out. So you can't save your way to this. You're going to have to invest your way to this. And that's what I've been helping people with for the last 18 years. I am an investor coach. I show people how to do it through lots of different strategies, but my bulk is through real estate, because real estate is almost a guarantee. There's no 100% guarantees in life, but it's predictable. And there's millions and millions of people around the world who own real estate, who've generated wealth through real estate, and most of the time passively. They don't even know they're doing it. That's how I did it. My first property that I bought, I put $5,000 down, the only money I had to my name at the time. I scraped up a little bit of money. And that money I turned into a $130,000 profit in 1 year. And I didn't do it because I was actively doing it. I was just living in the property, and the market went up. So I just cashed out and then took that money and doubled it again and keep doubling and doubling and doubling. And that's how I grew my wealth. And I want you to do the exact same thing. Because at the end of the day, this article was a big eye-opener the last couple of weeks. It's been all over the news because everyone's like, I can't afford $1.5 million and have that kind of money in a bank generating 8% a year. One, I don't even know how to generate 8%. Number two, I don't have 1.5 million. So there's two problems to that equation. And that's what we help people with. So look, I hope you're enjoying this video today, but I want you to comment below. How much money do you think you need to retire on when you're in your 60s or your 70s or 80s? I want to know.